Greetings. Thanks for joining me once again for another of Electric Avenue's YouTube updates, coming to you weekly from this domicile. I kind of feel like I'm like the weatherman when it comes to new records in the store. And I got a bunch of CDs to show too. May is usually like sort of a plentiful period, and this May has been no exception. It feels like we're still coming down from record store day, and there's still tons of stuff out there. And I know it's like a lot for everyone to keep up with. Can't believe I've been doing almost 200 of these updates now since I started at the beginning of the pandemic, which is like becoming like a faded memory now as 4 years ago. So anyway, these are the new releases for May 17th, 2024. A lot of good stuff here. There's one thing that will be sort of absent, which is Billie Eilish, her new album, Hit 'em Hard and Soft, which actually I will be getting here momentarily, but I need to film this video. And so I'll feature it visually in the next one. But it comes out, we'll have it at opening on Friday. So, and also that album, just like Taylor Swift's last album, shrouded in a cloud of mystery before it comes out. They really don't want to give anything out about it. In this case, they haven't, same thing, they haven't released a single song or clip really. I guess there's sort of been some ads, but so it'll be a big surprise to everybody. There's something to be said for that, I think. Sometimes they give us way too much of an album in advance, and then it kind of spoils it. You know what to expect, and if you already are not vibing with certain songs, then that kind of can be a negative. So anyway, let's do the stuff that's here. First up, featuring a member from Westchester, Pennsylvania, the new album from Cage the Elephant, Neon Pill. This is Cage's, I think their seventh album, maybe sixth or seventh, featuring Neon Pill, Out Loud, Rainbow, and Lost in the Sky. Includes translucent clear vinyl. This band features member Nick Bockrath, who is a great guy. Used to work for me at one point, like 10 years ago, for about a year. And I would hear him practicing his guitar in the back room while I'd be on my lunch break, thinking, that kid's really going to make something of himself one day. And it really wasn't until he broke his leg on tour in Europe that I was like, I wonder if that's the guy from Westchester. And I look it up and I see it's Nick. So anyway, congratulations to him. And more success to them. I love this album cover, by the way. It's really like colorful and whatnot. So, Neon Pill, get it. Let's see. And they were a huge band during the pandemic. I think they really resonated with a lot of young people. Another now becoming sort of longtime great heritage act almost, the Avett Brothers, and their new album, 23. I can't remember. I think this is called 23. Or maybe it's just called it's just called the Avett Brothers. I'm getting it confused with Incubus last week had their album called 23. But anyway, some great cover art here, and it's also this cool textured cover. Avett Brothers do, like, they sort of go a little bit further than some bands, I think, in the similar situation. And this album's produced by Rick Rubin. So, sort of stalwarts of Americana working with Rick Rubin. Rick Rubin has been extremely busy lately. I know he did the new Gossip album, the new Marcus King album. It's been sort of busy times for Rick Rubin and busy times for Avett Brothers. All right, and then we also get, I've been looking forward to this for I don't know how long, the new Beth Gibbons album. This is called Lives Outgrown. Beth being the lead singer of Portishead, who has not released an album in like 15 years. And this is technically her solo debut, although she did have the one other album she did with Rustin Man, which was Paul Webb from Talk Talk, and that was about 20 years ago, called Out of Season. I mentioned that album recently in my recommends. And so this is technically a solo debut, not counting the Goreski classical album she did about 5 years ago. This album was made with the other guy from Lee from Talk Talk, and Lee Harris, and then the producer on this was James Ford, who also was a member of Simeon Mobile Disco, but has been very busy lately producing new albums by Pet Shop Boys, and oh, the other ones just escaped me. Depeche Mode, he did their recent album. Also continues to work with the Arctic Monkeys. So anyway, I have not heard this yet. The reviews say stark and stunning, and I wouldn't expect anything else from Beth. If you are sort of unfamiliar with her vocals, um, I don't know. She's probably the closest thing to a modern Billie Holiday type singer that we have in the rock realm. Um, Not so much a jazz singer, but has a lot of jazz influence in her more current and solo work, and a lot of folk, a lot of that 70s kind of late 60s pastoral British folk kind of influence, very intimate type of sounding music, and also pretty stark. I hear this album has a lot to do with her ruminations on life and our basic journey towards its end, the inevitable end. And so I don't think this is going to be for the faint of heart, but I think it's going to be probably not only one of the albums of the year, but probably one of my top 10. I'm really looking forward to that, obviously. Another record that really needs mentioning here is the new album from Shellac featuring Steve Albini, who just passed away. And this is sort of Shellac's comeback record. They haven't had an album in a really long time. And, well, what can I say about Albini that hasn't already been said? I mean, talk about a guy who was more, he considered himself more an engineer than a producer. He sort of basically paved the way for where rock music went through the 90s, and from his work starting with like things like Big Black, but then also Surfer Rosa for the Pixies, and then doing In Utero for Nirvana after Kurt Cobain thought Nevermind was a little too glossy. Sorry, Butch Vig. I love Butch Vig. I love Garbage, his band. But anyway, so this went a little more sort of kind of rough around the edges as far as Albini's sound, and also stuff that he did with like PJ Harvey. Just so many artists that he worked with. And so anyway, kind of this album was planned to be released, and then he went and passed away at 61. So Shellac's new album, it's called To All Trains. I love this cover shot. It's very like I don't know, sort of fitting in a way. Okay, and then shifting gears here, Guns N' Roses guitarist Slash, and his new album. There's a lot of glare on that. This is called Orgy of the Damned. What a title, right? This actually is sort of more of a blues record, a collection of blues-inspired covers featuring performances by, get this, Chris Stapleton, Demi Lovato, Gary Clark Jr., Brian Johnson, Paul Rogers, and more. The Ann Moore, Beth Hart, fresh off her work on that great Led Zeppelin covers album. Billy Gibbons, Chris Robinson, Dorothy, Iggy Pop. So kind of interesting that it's not a Miles Kennedy lead vocal. But anyway, so a new album from Slash. doing blues music. And then also we get the new album from Kerry King of Slayer, and this is his new record, From Hell I Rise. And this is something that hopefully will make some Slayer fans happy. I know there's some that, they're always like, kind of grousing about this or that. But black and dark red marble vinyl is the color of this one. So that's the indie exclusive. Okay. Keeping with the metal theme a little bit, the new album from Paul Bearer. This is their new record, just called Mind Burns Alive. Orange vinyl with an etching on side D, limited to 3,925 copies. Thanks for being so specific, Paul Bearer. Anyway, they kind of had their breakthrough maybe about a half a decade ago as far as in the sort of world of metal, and I don't know, they're almost more sort of outside the box, but they're also a little more like I guess accessible in a way. So that could be a big record. I'm not really sure. We'll have to wait and see. New album from Blitzen Trapper. This is called Hundreds of Thousands, Millions of Billions, and it's on clear blue vinyl. Blitzen Trapper, longtime sort of alternative rock band. New album from them. A name you don't hear every day, or it's been a little while, Collective Soul. And so Collective Soul have had a lot of reissues, especially of their first three albums. Dosage was their record store day release this year, and we sold out of that. But this one's called Here to Eternity, a new double album from Collective Soul, celebrating 30 years of music, featuring the new single Mother's Love and a song Keep It On Track, and more. So it's a double record, and there are quite a lot of songs on this. If you can see there in the, it's kind of a nice cover. Looks like 20 songs. I guess it's been long enough that they're like, give them everything. There's a song called Bob Dylan, Where Are You Today? Maybe go check that out. A new album from the Mavericks. This is called Moon and Stars, and it's on a Galaxy Blue vinyl for indie store retail. And this it's Raul Malo and his band. They always get sort of pegged as like country, but they're really more sort of like retro country, I suppose, like more in the Roy Orbison type of vein vocally. You could sort of find connections with even things like Chris Isaac and stuff like that. But featuring, this one has some guest vocals, features Nicole Atkins, Sierra Farrell, and Maggie Rose, and also Max Abrams makes an appearance. So, New Mavericks. British singer-songwriter, pop guy, Bright Light, Bright Light. And this is his new record, Enjoy Youth. And also, he's been, Rod has been sort of doing this for a while. And he's open for like Elton John. And anyway, this features guest stars Barry, Ultra Nate, and Michael Kilgore. People might remember Ultra Nate as like a 90s kind of club singer. And Beth Hirsch makes an appearance on the last track. She was also on the first Air album, Moon Safari. She sang the two songs on that. So there's a duet with him on that. Yeah, so he's seems like a nice guy. He's on the internet, on Facebook a lot, very responsive to his fan base and all. So wish him well. He's friends with like Scissor Sisters and those people. So all right, Glorious, the new album from Kate Hudson. I have been like championing Kate Hudson as why doesn't she release an album for years? She has such a great voice, and she was in the movie Nine, which was a Broadway sort of sort of moved it over to the film world. And she did a great job in that. And every time she's been on TV and sang, I'm like, she has a good voice. Why doesn't she do a record? Well, finally, here after years of being married to Chris Robinson of Black Rose, she breaks out on her own and does a 12 track 12 track album. There's a song called The 90s. Let's see. Anyway, I haven't heard anything from it yet, although I think she was on some show. Like, I saw her singing a little bit of like her warm ups where she was doing like Stone Temple Pilots Vaseline or something like that. And it was actually pretty interesting. It was like slightly jazzy, but it was good. Uh, Speaking of actors and celebrities, William Shatner, and he returns with Where Will the Animals Sleep? Songs for Kids and Other Living Things. There's something about this cover that's a little creepy to me. I don't know, but it's an opaque yellow vinyl. Only 500 copies were made. Well, there you go. Uh, yeah, it's a kids album. Barnacle Bill the Sailor, Chomp Chomp Chomp, Aphids and Ants, I'm a Coral Sea in the Coral Sea, The Rhino's Guard. I assume that it's mostly kind of reciting over. I mean, this usually he has like blues records, but Shatner's in his 90s now, so go figure. They want to AI him aged backwards and then have him make kids records. So if he can do it, he's gonna do it. So okay, some jazz reissues this week. We've got Blue Note classics. Stanley Turrentine with the Three Sounds Blue Hour. And the Three Sounds are Gene Harris, Andrew Simpkins, and Bill Dowdy. And this is sort of earlier Stanley, I want to say maybe 61 or something like that. Yeah, 61. So a little more traditional jazz, but supposed to be a very good album. I have not heard this one. So looking forward to that. Another Blue Note classic, which I think this one's going to fly off shelves. Hank Mobley's Workout, supposedly, from what people say. And I've heard clips of this, but never the whole thing. But they're saying one of the best Blue Note albums ever, one of the best Hank Mobley albums ever. And these were both mastered by Kevin Gray at Coherent Audio. This features Grant Green, Wynton Kelly, Paul Chambers, and Philly Joe Jones. I mean, a lot of these albums I haven't heard because they haven't been out until now. So excited about that. Yeah, and Hank Mobley is really one of the best playing tenor sax here. Love Wynton Kelly's piano too. Excellent. Sort of more West Coast stuff. Hampton Hawes For Real. And this features Harold Land, Scott LaFaro, and Frank Butler. And this is on the Contemporary Records sound series by Kraft, recorded by Roy Danan, and features those guys. A lacquer's cut by Bernie Grunman, and he did the remastering pressed at QRP. Scott LaFaro also played quite a bit with Bill Evans, and apparently I wasn't familiar, but he died just 1961. He was 35 years old. I'm sorry, 25 years old. And it was in a car accident. So that's why we don't hear about him more, I think. But he's sort of a great collaborator with these guys. So in 1936 to 61 is 25. Tragic. Anyway. Okay. A couple of Pete Townsend reissues. White City. This one is half speed mastered at Abbey Road, done by Miles Showell. Mastered by John Astley, but Miles Showell did the cut. And then also we get Pete's All the Cowboys Have Chinese Eyes, probably kind of a controversial title at this point for an album, but these are two sort of classic solo Pete records that people really seem to like. This one had Face Dances, which got a lot of play on MTV. So anyway, if you're a Who fan or a Pete fan, check those out. Another sort of Who connected thing, I think I showed a couple of these last week, but we did finally get the third of the John Entwistle reissues, Whistle Rhymes. And this is his second solo album, featured Peter Frampton and Jimmy McCulloch, later of Wings, on lead guitars, and the single I Wonder. First time on vinyl since 1973 on translucent red vinyl. So a bunch of Who stuff there this week. This is exciting. Ben Folds 5 and their album Whatever and Ever Amen. And this is Ben's biggest selling album, I believe. I mean, from what I remember, sold a lot. This is the one that features Brick and Song for the Dumped, and this is like a 90s classic. Brick was a huge hit, and Ben, an incredible pianist and writer, and still out there doing his thing. Another 90s reissue, I guess this is early 2000s, Godsmack Awake. And so this goes a little more in the sort of metal, new metal, rock, hard rock vein. Produced by Sully and Mudrock. And this is what, 2000, is this real, right? 2009? Maybe this album is later than I remember it then. I thought Godsmack was a little bit earlier. It feels earlier for some reason. But yeah, this was a fairly popular record. I don't think it was quite as popular as the debut, but did all right. Another reissue, Modest Mouse. Good news for people who like bad news. It's always a great title. I love this is sort of an altered cover, different cover art. 20th anniversary edition, opaque baby pink and opaque spring green vinyl. So two different colors in here. This one features Float On, which is probably their biggest breakthrough hit. And Ocean Breathe Salty, plus 5 new remixes by Poolside, Jackknife Lee, Dan the Automator, and more. So you might recognize Dan the Automator from Deltron, and Nathaniel Merriweather and Gorillaz, early Gorillaz. He did stuff with them. Anyway, so Modest Mouse. And another sort of well-known artist now, Waxahachie, Katie Crutchfield, and this is limited edition red vinyl of her, which album? This is American Weekend is the name of it. This was released on Don Giovanni Records. So if you're a Waxahachie fan and you haven't gone back this far, I know her earlier records were a lot more rough around the edges, production-wise and sound-wise, but there's some great pictures there too. But American Weekend is the name of that record. The Rolling Stones got Live If You Want It. So this was released originally back in the 60s, and it's sort of a hodgepodge of different live performances, but it does feature a lot of good songs. I Can't Get No Satisfaction, Under My Thumb, Get Off My Cloud, Lady Jane, 19th Nervous Breakdown, Time Is On My Side. It's kind of a cool like live collection type album. Again, they've been doing a lot of those Rolling Stones just because the sound is, they can make it pressed on like a better sounding record in some ways now. Fotheringay. This is a Sandy Denny classic. That's sort of her there, although she's, as someone pointed out, she's not that short. And I'm like, yeah, I knew she wasn't quite that short. Died a tragic death also, and she was a member of Fairport Convention. This was sort of a side band that she did, and very critically acclaimed and a very loved album by people who grew up listening to Fairport and Sandy back in the late 70s, late 60s, early 70s. Utopia, Todd Rundgren, and this is a little bit later album for Utopia. This was 1982. It was sort of seen as a bit of a comeback for him. It was a very kind of more of a direct power pop type record, and sort of kind of like the connector in some ways to what he would do with XTC later, producing Skylarking. But originally, this was released as a 2 LP set, and the fourth side was blank. And now they've sort of crunched it down to one record. So, in that sense, I don't know if it sounds better. Probably not. You don't know, but maybe with technology, who knows? But this is pressed on opaque red vinyl, and only 500 copies were made. And it says opaque red, and the picture sort of orangey, so go figure. But Todd Rundgren, Utopia. Todd's had a lot of reissues lately. Another reissue, Tommy Bolin, a teaser. And this is kind of a major record, too, in the rock circles. I mean, it's records like this that got him sort of noticed by Ozzy and people like that. But this album features performances by Jan Hammer, David Foster, Phil Collins, Jeff Porcaro from Toto, David Sanborn, R.I.P. He just passed away this week. And Glenn Hughes did a special appearance, who sort of a rock god there too. But so 1975, and Tommy's biggest solo record, really, as far as like it's sort of critical acclaim and I believe sales as well too. But it's nice seeing that get sort of reissued. This is, I think, Cleopatra did this, but David Sanborn, I gotta mention, people sort of reference him as like, oh, he's that smooth jazz guy, and it's like, yeah, but he also, sang on David Bowie, or played sax on David Bowie's Young Americans, played on all the Paul Butterfield blues album records. There's numerous like great albums that David Sanborn contributed to especially in his early days. Stevie Wonder, he was on Songs in the Key of Life. Again, another Jim Croce reissue. This time we've already had a reissue of You Don't Mess Around with Jim, but this time it's the 2023 mix by Paul Hicks, sourced from the original multi-track tapes. Features the number one hit Time in a Bottle, plus Walking Back to Georgia, and Operator, That's Not the Way It Feels. So, little more Jim if you're interested in that. Let's see. Death Cult, which I believe started as Southern Death Cult, then Death Cult, and then became The Cult. This is Ian Astbury and Billy Duffy, the band that would eventually do Firewoman and the Electric album and all. But this is early stuff, a revised collection of tracks personally curated by those guys on splatter clear vinyl. So it's 8 tracks here. This stuff is really hard to find, so it's good that they put these out. 1983 was when this stuff was released, so I think they were a little more gothy at this point. Horse Nation, Ghost Dance, Brothers Grimm, Christians, God's Zoo, A Flower in the Desert, Butterflies, and With Love, Sea and Sky. So something that might interest some people. Also a kind of a interesting side project here, Fantomas. And this is Mike Patton of Faith No More's side project. And this is on vinyl for the first time individually, so not in a box set. This is the album that started it all. Mike Patton, Buzz Osborne, Dave Lombardo, and Trevor Dunn. This is Ipicac's 25th anniversary, includes Silver Streak vinyl. So, love the artwork. they don't really tell you much of what's on it, just the people and then long tracks. Let's see. Simande, Promised Heights. So you always see the one with the kind of head with the bird on it, but you don't see this one that often. This is celebrating 50 years of Promise Heights, the renowned 1974 album featuring Brothers on the Slide, pressed on opaque pink vinyl. So this is sort of like funk soul, kind of side of jazzy a little bit, but more like funk soul, I think. Simande. And then there's a release that I don't know. I've been sort of told that this was bumped. Maybe it was just the CD that was bumped. But Robin Trower, Bridge of Sighs. I'm trying to get more of these, and they're not in at the warehouse. So I think this might have slipped out. I don't know. But this is I'm sure that more will be coming eventually, maybe when they get more made. But this is the original unedited stereo mix, live at the record plant, Sausalito, 1974. First time on vinyl, mastered and cut at half speed, air mastering. Liner notes by Robin Trower with words from Robert Fripp, Brian Ferry, and more. So this is like Robin's biggest album solo by far, and yeah. So this is a 2024 stereo mix, and then a live record. So I believe we'll be getting more of that. It might take a couple of weeks. So I think I heard June 7th because the CDs have not shown up yet. Also, all right, and then CD wise this week, there's a few things. Some of them are available on vinyl, and we just don't have them yet, or you may want to special order them if you're interested. But first one up is Kirk Whalum, Epic Cool. That's his first album in a while, I think. And this is on, I can't even read the record label, Artistry Music. So Kirk Whalum, sort of a big 90s jazz guy. Another one sort of along those lines, Gerald Albright, Full Throttle. And this is, I think it's on Gerald's own label. It's looks like it is. And there are 3 long tracks on that. So it's been a long time since those guys. They're more sort of like smooth jazz, I guess. Jean-Luc Ponty, his first in a long time too. Life Enigma. At least I haven't seen one from him in a while. This features 2001 years ago, Signals from the Planet Earth, and Pitsy Cat. There's a Charlie Watts anthology CD. I don't remember seeing this come up on vinyl, but maybe it's going to come. Charlie Watts solo jazz recordings, anthologized and including an extended essay documenting his love for jazz and time spent as the drummer in the Rolling Stones. This is a 2 CD set. First, it says CD2 features Roy Haynes, Airto. So if you're into Rolling Stones stuff, Ruth Moody's The Wanderer. And I don't really know much about her except Joey Landreth is on this. Supposedly like a really interesting singer-songwriter. Ruth Moody, Wanderer. Of Montreal return with a new album. This one's called Lady on the Cusp. They're very super psychedelic and kind of weird, and sometimes they get really funky, like soul funky, and I was pretty much like always carrying their vinyl stuff, and then it kind of was like I couldn't tell if people were actually buying it or not. So from me, but I thought they were interesting records. So if anybody wants them from me, let me know. Air, I already mentioned this. This is a deluxe CD edition, and it's 3 discs for the 25th anniversary. It's called the Explorer Edition. And this features the album, which looks like it's probably remastered. I don't know. Then there's a CD of songs that they either remixed for other people or their BBC Live sessions, extended versions. And then the third disc is the Blu-ray audio in Dolby Atmos and a video. Their video that came out at the time, which was Eating, Sleeping, Waiting, and Playing. All right, a couple more things here. Little Feat, their album Sam's Place, and that's new. That's new Little Feat. And then also New Kids on the Block, and this one's called Still Kids. And yeah, they're still around. They're all in their 50s now, so New Man on the Block or Old Kids on the Block. I'm sure they hear those jokes all the time. All right. To wrap this up today, I just kind of wanted to. I don't really know what to recommend. So someone had asked, like, well, what were your favorite record store day things that you picked up? And so I just grabbed three of them that I was like, oh, I really liked this. One was the album Electrofiction. This was Echo and the Bunnymen, basically their 90s hard rock album that they tried to kind of sort of break out of what they were known as, update their sound a little bit. And I thought for the most part it was pretty successful. They didn't do this past one album though, so this was kind of a sort of a curiosity in a way. But it's actually a very good record, and it features Ian McCulloch on vocals and guitar, and Will Sargent on fuzz guitar, auto harp, bubble box, and 12-string guitar. And then Tony McGuigan and Leon Da Silva rounded out the band. But songs like Zephyr, Feel My Pulse, Sister Pain, really good. And very sort of reasonably priced and pressed on a really cool vinyl too, kind of a marbled gray-white. So that was one that I really enjoyed. Another one I really enjoyed was Dean and Britta's La Ventura. These guys were from the band Luna, or are from the band Luna, a married couple. This is sort of their take on like a Nancy Sinatra, Lee Hazelwood type album. It has some really great kind of quirky alternative pop songs like Ginger Snaps, When the Ginger Snaps, When the Thunder Claps. It's got like kind of these funny sort of lyrics, very well written and produced. Album was produced by Tony Visconti of David Bowie fame. And Night Nurse is great. I love I Deserve It, which is their cover of Madonna's I Deserve It that was on her music album. They do it as a real downbeat sort of folktronica type, really spacey but pretty type version of it. It's a great song. Interesting, kind of like the way they kind of bounce the vocals off each other. And then the second part of this, they expanded it into a 2-record thing. And the second part had like Sonic Boom from Spaceman 3. He did some mixes that kind of made things a little more spacey sounding. But this was great. Unfortunately, me and a friend both bought this, and our copies had 2 of record 1 in each, so we had to actually send them back. And fortunately, they had a few left, and we were able to get the 2-record versions. And I will say, I think there were more problems with a lot of that sort of mistakes going on this year, pressings and whatnot, than I can remember, which is not good when you're dealing with sort of limited pressings. Last one I'm going to mention is Soft Cell, and this is Nonstop Extended Cabaret. As many of you know, I've already given recommends on this channel for Nonstop Erotic Cabaret, which is one of my favorite albums of the 80s and all time, really. And this is sort of a extended versions of those songs. Dave Ball, the keyboardist, took the original stems of the recordings that they had and took the songs and sort of fleshed them out and made them a bit longer. Interestingly enough, the version of Sex Dwarf on here is slightly shorter, I think. And that one, he sort of kind of tamed down some of the really like odd sort of yelling and like the things that really didn't need to be in the mix that were sort of distracting. I think he kind of wanted to like clean that up a little bit, even though the track is sort of always kind of thrived on being sort of edgy. But it does include the 1981 original 12-inch mix of Bedsitter, which is great because it's a very long, it's like 8 minutes long, and it has additional vocals and spoken word kind of things, or another verse from Mark Almond. And yeah, so it's got a longer version of Tainted Love. And it's not terribly long. No, I think the reason this was successful for me was that nothing sort of outstayed its welcome. They were all extended, but they all sort of had a purpose. So I just wish that they'd put the extended version of Torch on here, even though it wasn't on the album originally. But it does have A Man Could Get Lost, which was sort of a B-side, and Memorabilia, a couple of mixes of that, which was also kind of a B-side, but Soft Cell, Nonstop Extended Cabaret. So those are my picks that I sort of enjoyed from Record Store Day. You should let me know in the comments what you think about what your choices were if you're watching this on your computer. And thanks everyone so much for all the support, and keep watching. And I'll show you the Billie Eilish as soon as I get it. So it'll be on the next video. But we'll have it. We'll have it release day. So thanks, and have a great weekend. Enjoy the May weather if you're in a place that you can enjoy it. It's been all right around here, a little on the cool side, slightly rainy. Well, anyway, peace.